Turning now to CNN, in genuinely what is one of the grimmest developments in news that I have ever seen, something literally the stuff of my nightmares. They have announced a partnership with Kalshi, a prediction market, much like Polymarket, where they will be officially collaborating together to promote Kalshi, betting odds, and others in CNN or incorporate it into their live coverage. Just to give you a taste of Kalshi, what is it? Here is their co-founder, Tariq Mansour, talking about his vision for the betting platform. Let's take a listen.
You've mentioned multiple times that you think prediction markets will be bigger than the stock market. What is it going to take to become $1 trillion asset class?
It's pretty much already like a close to $100 billion a year asset class, right? Like, it's pretty easy to imagine a 10x from here. Like, we haven't even started. It's been a year. I think a very large number of people care, much larger than traditional markets. And I think retail as a pie has just been growing in the US, and I think it's going to keep growing. It's growing in the stock market, but it's growing outside of the stock market. The long-term vision is to financialize everything and create a tradable asset out of any difference in opinion. And I think if you do build a general purpose exchange that can resolve differences of opinions on anything, like, the TAM is quite massive, quite a bit bigger than the current TAM of the stock market. I think putting aside sort of the retail trading and the institutional trading product, like, there's sort of this separate product, which is like, we are living in a world where, like, we have an abundance of information, but there's a lot of noise, and, like, we don't really understand what's real from what's not. And prediction markets are an antidote to that. They do a very, very good job at distilling information and surfacing truth to people. And you're seeing this sort of massive shift where, like, people are using them whenever they think about questions about the future, you know, whenever they're debating about anything. And I think that trajectory is going to keep going. That's a new consumer habit that I don't think is going to be undone.
If you missed that in the middle of TAM, by the way, is total addressable market, for those of you who don't speak bullshit. But Kalshi, if you missed this quote, the long-term vision is to financialize everything and create a tradable asset out of any difference in opinion. So that means anytime we disagree, anything may happen, that can turn into a commercially tradable asset that anybody across the world can just simply place minor bets on. Now, I could just never imagine a world where this might corrupt said news influence or influence outcomes or not highly regulated or, you know, I mean, this idea where you want to turn literally everything from sports to entertainment to news to, he literally said everything. We're going to get to this later in 60 minutes. You have amateur bettors out there trading on whether Taylor Swift is going to be pregnant in the year 2020. And he goes, oh, this bettor, he's like, oh, that would never happen. He's like, I've analyzed her character. I mean, that's sick, okay? It's sick that is even, I'm not talking about defending her integrity or whatever. It's like, people should not be betting on that, period, okay? Well, that is a total violation of the social contract.
We already know what this looks like because of sports.
Yes.
I mean, we know what it looks like. It has deeply compromised the integrity of sports. And not that sport has ever been perfect, blah, blah, blah. But now it's like, okay, who's on the take, right? Which, is it the referees? What players on the take? You know, these individual one-off bets that you can, they're gonna make this many points or this many free throws or this many rebounds or whatever. Like, those are so easy to rig, which is why players increasingly are getting caught up in these scandals where, lo and behold, they are on the take, and it is corrupt. And so your whole sense of what is going on in the sport gets completely undermined, where no longer do you feel like, oh, you know, there's some cheating occasionally around the margin, but by and large, it's a contest of merit, and what I'm seeing is real. No, increasingly your sense is this is more like WWE. This is more like fake and rigged, and everybody's in on it, and if you're not in on it, you're a sucker. Or you have a situation, you can see this with news as well, how this, you could see very easily how this would happen. You know, you could bet on what color dildo is going to get thrown at a WNBA game. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that someone could, you know, bet on it being a purple dildo.
And then throw it.
Lo and behold, show up at the game with the purple dildo and throw the freaking dildo. I mean, it's just so disgusting. And then broadening out here even further, I thought Arnaud, who's very thoughtful and insightful on these things, had a great post thinking about the bigger meta implications here. He says, I cannot think of a single way in which this makes society better. You're now going to have people financially, on top of emotionally, invested in their opinions, which can only create further polarization. Societies need consensus. Hard to see how you help achieve this when compromises become financial losses. So if I'm betting on my opinion, Now, not only am I like emotionally like I want to be right, but now I also have money riding on whether or not this is correct or not. You can see how this would spin out of control. He goes on to say, also, it literally disincentivizes truth seeking. Markets work based on anticipating what others will believe, not on discovering what is actually true. It's the meme stock phenomenon. Those stocks don't rise because the company is valuable. They rise because enough people believe others will keep buying. You'll have the same thing with opinions. People are rewarded not for being correct, but for anticipating what others will believe and incentivized, literally financially incentivized, to manipulate narratives so that their bets pay off. Truth becomes not only irrelevant, but in many cases will be actively fought against because it becomes a direct financial threat.
Yes.
Like, if this is not the end stage of capitalism, I don't know what is. It is so incredibly dystopian. We have got to revolt against this complete financialization and the absolute takeover of every aspect of our lives by these bottom-feeding financial, gambling.
Yeah. These guys are billionaires, by the way.
It's disgusting. I know.
Just so you know, they're literally billionaires.
And not only do you have the first level of like, okay, people placing bets, you also have an increasing ecosystem being funded of startups around this that will then take those bets and bundle them and package them as securities, and you can borrow against them. And the whole disgusting ecosystem of our like casino capitalism that we have is also being built up to create these bets into separate markets that can be traded secondarily as well.
Yeah.
Just, putting this whole thing like absolute predation on the people who are at the bottom and putting this throughout our entire economy at every level.
Yeah, let's put F2 up on the screen. This is about CNN and their data partnership. Basically what they're saying is they'll only use Kalshi data and they'll be the exclusive prediction data. And I have been thinking about this in the context of our own coverage because it's tough, right? It is newsworthy to cover the poly market odds on a race.
Yeah.
They had a decent track record in 2024. But to me, there is just something fundamentally different about either money exchanging hands, like in the way of a sponsorship, like with ESPN, right? When they had ESPN Bet. They actively were making money from sports betting and then covering sports. There has to be a literal firewall. Or here, in this case, they say that there's no money exchanging hands. I don't know. I find that hard to believe. But more importantly, it's like an actual endorsement. So you and I talking, it's just different to me. And maybe that's semantics, but like it is fundamentally different. Saying, look, we don't take money from these people. We don't want any money from these people. I think these are degenerate. They're bad, and I would ban them if they could. While they exist, I will talk about it. But that's not the same as a flat-out endorsement and saying that this is an official thing that will be incorporated. And again, the ability for manipulation and for insider trading and just like to show people how easily this can all happen. Can we put F6 on the screen? I checked. This is a real market, by the way. That happened yesterday. F6. What will Anderson Cooper say during his show? Anderson Cooper is a CNN host. So you have people who are live betting what the individual words that he might say. This was an $80,000 market with huge odds, 1%, right? I mean, the payout on that is massive. Well, if you're a producer at CNN, a low-level producer, there's probably, I don't know, how many would you say, 50 people who work on the Anderson Cooper show?
Something
roughly,
like that,
right? And you're a guy pulling in $33,000. He might be the sound guy. You might literally just be a contractor, but you happen to be in the editorial meeting. Just power it up. Hit something like this because you know it's coming, get a nice 66-to-1 payout. Is that technically fraud? I don't know. I mean, is there any governing authority over that? If you can do this all in...
the Trump administration certainly doesn't give a shit.
But not even that, Krystal. If this is all in crypto, then you don't even know, right? But
right.
If this is not even in the US dollar market, then nobody knows anything. And look, does that really matter? Not really. But let's make that bigger. Pardon power. Let's say you're a lawyer and you happen to bet on a pardon market. I mean, think about it. Taylor Swift, people are gambling on whether she's going to get pregnant. Honestly, if I were her, if you're, what's the term, trying to conceive, I would bet it and then I would go do it. I mean, look, that's sick. It's crazy. And I've been trying to warn about this with sports. Everybody says you're a prude. Sports betting been around forever, Saagar. No, Prop bets like this have never been around. And actually, especially in a widespread market. Why? Do you know how many of my friends know the over-under on fucking A.J. Brown's number of yards in the next game? This is not a thing, all right? This never existed. And that's like one minor one. Or, oh, the defense to score a touchdown. Now imagine that in every facet of our lives, what you and I are going to do our next monologue on, or the topic. And that's just you or me. CNN, Trump, the words out of his mouth, the Federal Reserve, they're doing already derivative contracts and futures contracts in cryptocurrencies, in various different ones. Who the next pope is going to be, who the next James Bond is going to be. I mean, same thing on the James Bond question. If you are a executive at, I forget the estate of who owns the James Bond, the Fleming, right? If you're a Fleming person and you have influence over what, you could easily be doing that. Is this technically corruption? Again, I mean, to what extent? But the point is not even about regulation. The point is this financialization, betting. We had long-standing taboos on this for a reason. We understood that betting and gambling is the most, literally one of the most degenerate and horrible activities that you can be into. It has one of the highest suicide rates of any addiction.
Very addictive.
And when it consumes people think I'm a prude. It's because I see the results. I mean, seriously. And this is why I'm not even saying it should be totally illegal. Regulate it to the casino. I really believe people should be required to go to a casino. When you see somebody with fucking emphysema, smoking cigarettes, sitting there, blowing their life savings away on a slot machine, you're gonna go, yo, this shit is evil. And you need to see that stuff, like for your own eyes. Behind a screen and all that, it doesn't seep into you. Like, you need to see the type of people who you were around. And I've seen people break down and cry at casinos. Like, cry, tears, slam, tape. You know how many people commit suicides in Las Vegas? They literally cover them up. It's the reason why you should see that is because you need to understand the socialization of what it means for this shit to be legal. But whenever it's all behind a screen, you can be sitting there and just gamble your life savings away. And I've covered those stories. Remember my monologue about that guy? He literally never placed a bet in 2021, gambled away millions of dollars, gambled his children's christening funds. Like, it's sick. And of course, DraftKings allegedly violated their own internal policy. According to their lawsuit, they deny all wrongdoing. But this could happen at the highest level across all society. And that's why the CNN, for me, I mean, according to them, the most trusted name in news. No, ridiculous. But the point is like, this is a major fucking brand. And also, turning the news, I've watched this happen with sports, is so many people only pay for sports media now for gambling stuff. The reason that the Adam Schefters and all these other people have so many followers and they make so much money, especially now these days, is because they're the first to report injuries or insight. Well, what do you think is going to affect the Vegas odds? Right? If so-and-so is injured, that means the line can move. That's why these people all pay attention. Even NFL Sunday Ticket, like the ability to watch all the games. The only reason that people are paying so much, like their subscriptions have massively gone up. You know why? Because people are gambling on more games. They don't give a shit about the Los Angeles Rams or the Titans if they live in Philadelphia. They're betting. Like, that's what it's all about. So that's what the news would turn into. I mean, I guess maybe it'd be good for us, right? But I'm speaking purely out of societal interests. Is that I don't want people to want to be more informed because they're gambling on everything. If anything, it'll distort all of the outcomes. So, look, long-winded rant, but I mean, I've been trying to warn about this, and I can see it coming from a mile away. It's getting so much worse. F5, please, just so we all know, is that the prediction markets, Fanatics, if you know what that is, Fanatics is that, the fan company. I think Tom Brady and all those people are involved with it, and Polymarket are set to go live early this week. This is F5, please. Are set to go live as early as this week, with FanDuel later in the month and DraftKings by January. Fanatics, FanDuel, and DraftKings are launching in states where they don't even offer mobile sportsbooks. So this is also, by the way, a de facto way to legalize sports betting in the entire nation. That's what this whole thing is about. Soon, look, it's all 50. Just so everybody understands, like when I rant and rave, the sports betting companies are now bigger than Hollywood. They make more money than the box office of the entire United States theater industry. That is how big an overnight thing happened. Nobody consented to it. The Ohio governor, Mike DeWine, very recently said that if he could go back, because he signed the bill legalizing sports betting, he said if I could go back, I would never do it. He's like, it was one of the biggest mistakes that I ever made. And look, I mean, we have the power if we want to, but how many people are we going to watch people's lives get destroyed in the interim. We're going to have millions of gambling addicts. In the next 5 years, millions and millions of people. You make this accessible to everybody, people are going to blow tons of money. And yeah, these people are all just going to get filthy rich. But the two people on that stage, they're already billionaires.
Yeah.
They're already touting the woman. They're like, she's the youngest self-made woman billionaire ever. More than, I'm like, oh, great. What a fucking accomplishment.
Way to
you know?
go. Yeah.
Thank you for showing that women can also be, can also become very rich by exploiting degenerate impulses.
Yeah.
You know?
No, it's overall, it's degrading to society.
Yeah.
It's wrong.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no other way to put it. It's just wrong. It degrades society. It creates a level of artifice around absolutely everything. It creates increased polarization. It's disgusting. And the vast majority of people are going to lose. Like when you bet, you are much more likely to lose your money and end up much more in the hole. And guess what? That's more and more riches flowing to the top, flowing to those people that were there on that stage saying they want to financialize absolutely everything. Very disturbing, and I think it's disgusting CNN is doing this. I think people should revolt against it. Don't watch CNN. Let them know what you think.
I agree.
I mean, it's, there's the answer. Don't watch any product that's brought to you by these people or that, endorses any of these products.
I mean, it's going to be tough. I like Harry Enton. Right?
It's incredibly degrading.
We use his clips.
Oh, we just covered Jeremy Diamond's report on the, the bulldozing of the corpse.
Right.
I
mean, I don't take it out on these guys personally. Like, I understand the utility of the data while it is legal, but like that's kind of more of a meta point is when the executives themselves are like, hey, and they're, again, look at the sports. Sports is bigger than NFL. 57 million people watched the Chiefs-Cowboys game on Thanksgiving. It's the most watched regular season NFL game in history. I am absolutely convinced it's because of gambling. I'm telling you, 100%. If you go on TikTok and all these other places, all of the memes are about like trying to hold it together with my family while my Thanksgiving parlay falls apart. Like it's like part of the culture. At this point. This is all going to happen now with the news. I guarantee you, next election, the number of people who are going to be betting on the next election, it's going to be crazy. And Robinhood and all these other people, it's going to be fully normalized. And just think, there's going to, if you thought voter fraud, if you're one of those election fraudsters from 2020, how many people are going to be trying to influence the events of the votes, especially when it comes down to the states?
Right.
Like in Pennsylvania, right? I mean, what would you do for millions of dollars? People will do a lot of shit. Look at the federal prison system. So think about it. If you're going to place a bet, I'm going to bet that J.D. Vance is going to lose Arizona. It's like, well, then what do you think people in Arizona?
Yeah, what are you willing to do to make that happen?
What are you willing to do? If you're let's say you are a low-level county secretary of state pulling 25 G's a year in Yuma, Arizona or someplace like that. You're not going to fudge things a little bit? Who wouldn't? So you could see exactly how this there's so much potential for fraud and whatever. I mean, I already know we are gonna find out the hardest way possible.
Yeah.
It's very unfortunate.
It's like so many things in our, it's one thing when you have to go to the casino and there's like a physical action. Okay, yes, this is the thing we do. It's not exactly like it's sort of frowned upon in society, but it's there, and you can have access to it and you're an adult and okay, you got to go there and do the thing. And still it was bad for some number of people. But yes, it was sort of walled off. And now it's just shot throughout our entire lives. And I feel like that with technology too.
Of course.
Like it was one thing when you had the flip phone and, you could text on it and you could have it with you and coordinate. And that was great, right? And then it was kind of cool when you got your first smartphone. And now it's just like, it's just they've colonized our entire lives. They've colonized our entire brains. What was good in a small dose is now incredibly damaging and deleterious. So anyway, that's where we are.
That's where we live now.
Yep.
Hey, if you like that video, hit the like button or leave a comment below. It really helps get the show to more people.
And if you'd like to get the full show ad-free and in your inbox every morning, you can sign up at breakingpoints.com.
That's right. Get the full show, help support the future of independent media at breakingpoints.com.